show blew up in my face. Woke up on the floor, couldn't take no more, my darkest day. But I can't lose sleep on what I cannot change. I chased the lightning, I got soaked in the rain. Danced with my demons till I couldn't see straight. Try to twist me, but I still won't break. I don't mind. I'll find a way.
Welcome in to the bridge with our I'm hot there. With our good friends Kelly Vance and Phil Wallace. Phil caught traffic this morning. Be here shortly, which is good. And of course, brought to us through the financial support of our good friends over at. Are we going Sunbeams Uganda? Are we going?
Yeah. Let's do Sunbeams Uganda.
So, our good friends at Sunbeams Uganda. If you need to know what they do, who they are, and how they help the world and build bridges.
We are building bridges over there.
Absolutely. Where do they find the information for that?
www.sunbeamsuganda.org.
Love it.
And if you want to learn more about what we're doing, we are having a dinner that's going to kind of let you experience a little bit Uganda coming up April 12th. Yep.
April 12th.
April 12th, Friday night at Marvella's in Fox Lake. So it's close.
Cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I have to tell you this because this started from the bridge. So remember when we had Adelia on?
Yes.
Adelia went with us to Uganda, and she is actually coming to the dinner.
Oh,
Isn't that cool? So she's going to be sharing her experience when she went, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I gotta check my calendar.
Check your calendar, Kent.
I know that there is a tournament that weekend. I don't know if we can on Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can make it because I'm telling you, it'll be fun. She rocks the house. She just makes things a blast.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other women, Marlene and Michelle. Michelle's coming in from Michigan, who she went on the trip. So they're coming in and they're going to share their perspectives. And you're going to see they're all a little different, and they all brought something different there. And they all brought something different back. So it's going to be really a lot of fun.
And truthfully, that's what the bridge is all about, right? It's building bridges and crossing gorges, maybe not gorgeous, but gorges or valleys that don't have to be running water under it, but it's spanning a gap.
Yeah.
And gaps that perhaps we didn't know were there, but we built the bridge to span that gap, which is awesome.
It is awesome.
And we were just kind of talking about in the green room just how crazy the world is at this particular point. So much hatred. There's wars going on. There's people disliking people because of a letter in front of your name, and there's so much divisiveness that it seems that the bridges are becoming longer and longer and longer.
Well, and the bridges are weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
They're able to break. I think when you get your buttons pushed, you tend to just either jump off the bridge or demolish it or burn it. There's a lot of weird in the world, a lot of divisiveness. And that's, from a spiritual perspective, that's exactly what the devil wants. And God's called us to come here and take back that territory and build bridges and be light. And sometimes I think the division is so surface level. If we just would be willing to go a little deeper, we'd see that there's a lot more unity than division. But so as long as we're staying as busy as we are and we don't have the capacity or the time or the willingness to go deep, we're not going to get below that divisive surface. But I don't think it's divisive all the way through, if that makes sense. I think even the issues that we disagree on, look at the political realm, I think if they dug deep enough, they would find a common ground, and that would be where they could build their bridge.
Yes. I tend to like to sit on the bridge and watch the craziness flow underneath. And once in a while, I poke something that goes under there. I think about back when I was a kid, I learned to water ski in the Mississippi River. Right now, people are like, oh, Mississippi. Well, there's a lot of things floating in the Mississippi River. There's a lot. I mean, so it's not like a nice, beautiful, golden pond kind of lake, right? It's there. There were some things in that water you didn't know.
Like what?
Yeah. I mean, hey, they're catfish the size of boats. I mean, there's weird things, right? There's snakes, there's logs, there's people. There's other boats. But had I focused on everything that was in the water, I wouldn't have probably learned to water ski.
Right.
Yeah. And I think today, we as a species tend to stop looking at you, the person, and focus on your issues.
Absolutely. I think the minute we dehumanize people anywhere, we've lost our ability to really build a genuine bridge.
Yeah.
I think we have to stop dehumanizing people. We do. That's exactly what is happening.
Yeah.
Is we're making it about the issues and not about people who, and we're all trying to do the best we can. I think for the most part, you do have some evil people out there, but
I think there's more commonality in the world as a whole than there is uncommonality, right? And at least, and I don't know if like attracts like. The people that I tend to talk with, the people who are involved with this station, those type of things, is I tend to have more in common with them than what the world portrays that we don't. And I think maybe it's the ability to have a lot of scars from this world at this particular point in my life, but to say, all right, what I learned, okay, there's no need to get excited about this.
Yeah. Well, you see so many people that I think are angry and bitter and depressed and discouraged because they're focused on the issues.
Yeah.
And they're letting this world, I don't want to say control them, but control them.
Yeah.
I think don't focus on that stuff. We have a choice. We have a choice on what we're going to focus on. We don't have to be enamored. I mean, I turn off the news because you know what? I don't even know what to think about it. I can't do much about most of it.
Yeah.
I focus on what I can do something about.
So probably Spencer's going to be 30. So probably 16 years ago, he was a kid. We cut cable. We just started streaming stuff. Right.
You were before the curve. You were before everybody else was jumping on.
Because I was like, why am I spending $100 and some odd a month to watch 4 channels and the rest is garbage? And so, we've been streaming for a long time. But that's when I stopped listening to the news, is because at that point, then they weren't streaming. You had to tune in and catch it. And now you can catch it on streaming stuff. And I still stay with them. Right. People are like, well, what do you? I said, well, I read a lot, right? And if you really want, some good places to get good insight is, Australia and England.
Interesting.
Because they've got a different perspective on the United States. Our good friend Gary over in Singapore. I also chat with Gary and hey, what's the take from Singapore, on America?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
He always says that America to the rest of the world is a soap opera, like Days of Our Lives.
Isn't that sad?
It is.
I turned off the soap operas once I had kids and realized they were paying attention to them.
Right.
Like, this isn't healthy for anybody.
No.
I think we would be embarrassed if we realized how many other countries look at us. See, we don't look at a lot of other countries and what's going on in their world,
right.
So we don't really probably think people are looking at us, but they are.
Yeah.
And same within Uganda, when they watch us, I wish we were better examples.
Yeah.
As a world leader. I mean, we are a world leader. And sometimes it is even hard to say that because, we don't probably all, maybe people think of ourselves as that, but man, it's hard when you see how other people see you. It's a little sobering.
Yeah. I mean, we talked we talked a little bit this morning on the grounds about who do you see in the mirror, but I mean, if you think about to that as a nation as a whole, if people look at us, there's a lot of issues.
There is.
Right. But again, are you looking at who we are? Or are you looking at the issues that we have?
Well, and I think though, same with the state, with America on a whole,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole world and the issues and things like that, narrow that down to personally speaking, we have the power to influence.
Yeah.
So how are you using your influence today? There's so many people out there that are hurting and discouraged, or just need a word of wisdom, or just need someone to care. And I think, how are you going to use your influence today? I mean, we wake up in the morning, we've been given an opportunity really to choose a day that leads to death and destruction, or a day that leads to life and light. I mean, metaphorically speaking. And so, or maybe physically, who knows? But I think, how are you going to choose to use your influence? And it is a choice. Yeah. It is a choice. You can get sucked into the negative aspects and get all dehumanizing and, get on the rampage of just judging, or you can just get in the mess and be a light.
Yeah. And again, as we talk about issues a little bit, but I think if you want to be able to bridge, you got to seek first to understand, right? So this show has helped me tremendously, being a white guy from Iowa. As we started this way back in the 20s now, right? 2020, 4 years in, to shed light on, I didn't know that. I didn't look at it that way. I never experienced that. So it's given me the opportunity to understand a different point of view, a different perspective, right? I may have been standing on that bridge looking east the whole time, and Phil's like, why don't you look west?
Yeah,
different view, right?
Yeah.
And so even though issues help build bridges, because I still think we focus too much on them.
I agree.
Right?
We focus way too much on them.
And instead of getting to know you as a person, I go, you don't understand. Kelly, you can never look at you. Yeah. And you're like, why couldn't I understand? And we've stopped walking a mile in other people's shoes. Yeah. Before we decide to spew out sensible information. Yeah, yeah. Well, I can tell you this situation happened last week, and it was a guy building a bridge with me. That really, it was an incredible experience, because I was speeding down Kern Road, which it's easy to do. I do. Yes, I do a lot. I was totally guilty, 100%. So I was guilty. Yeah. Let's just start with that. I was pulled over, and this police officer was so darn kind to me. I left there and I thought, I have never had a kinder ticket given to me ever. Yeah. And he just did it by breaking conversation. Like his demeanor was very laid back. He was kind of leaning up against the car onto the side and just asked me. He saw a listing. He saw some listing sheets in my car. So he asked if I was a realtor, and started talking about the market a little bit and why were you speeding? And he gave me a ticket, but I couldn't even be mad at him, because A, I was guilty, but B, he was so darn nice about it. And, I don't know what's happening in the police. I know the police have taken a big beating, and I don't know what's going on over there, but what that gentleman displayed was amazing. And I thought about it, I'm like, if we're pouring resources into that, that's helping to train up police officers to be able to have a different approach. Yeah. It was good. It was good. I was very impressed, and I wasn't happy I got the ticket. I would have been happier if I got off, but he was kind about it, and he held firm, but yet he cared. He showed interest in me as a person, not just. And I've talked with a lot of men and women in blue, and they say it's as difficult of a time as it is to be in law enforcement. It's a great time, because it's changing, right? And they have the opportunity to create that change. They have the opportunity to build a bridge. Yeah. Right. And not do what is always been done. And so a lot of them are, yeah, it's great. And of course, a lot of them are like, still bitter. Right? They've been in it for a long time. And it's stories like that. It's understanding a person like that you go, yeah.
But you know how awesome it would be to continue that momentum and to change, for them to change it and have the trajectory go back to where they're seen as people that you go to in times of need, or they're there to help, not to hurt.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was very impressed. I was taken aback, impressed with how well his people skills and bedside manner. He was younger.
Yeah.
He was younger, and it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing that I used to say, when I was teaching a group of women a couple years back, and we were kind of really diving into what love is. And one of the things I've said again and again and again is you got to look beyond the behavior into the heart. Mm-hmm. We are so stopped by people's behavior, and that's why we can't build bridges, because we're stuck on the behavior, and we need to look beyond the behavior into the heart of people. And that does take, not dehumanizing them and just looking past it, from something as simple as when your child comes home late. Hey, Phil.
How are you guys?
Good. How are
you? No longer stuck in time.
Man. You're here. You rock.
Man.
So looking.
I just flew in and man.
Yeah. So even if you have a child that comes home and breaks curfew, so to speak, what's the reason for that? Are they just being rebellious, or did they get hung up, or are they dealing with peer pressure? Or, not that you analyze every situation. You need to be home when you need to be home. But I think that you can approach things from a more life-changing perspective if you look beyond the actual behavior into the heart of what's really happening there.
Welcome in. And
I'm glad you're here.
When did your son stop being a kid?
Man, he grew quick, didn't he? He cut the little floppies and tightened it up, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hi, Dad. How are you, Father?"
They grow up quick.
9 now.
Holy smokes, right?
Jeez, with a 10 shoe.
Double digits pretty soon.
With a 10 shoe.
A 10 shoe.
In about 6 more months when he's done with his shoe, son.
Gotcha.
We're just talking about building bridges and taking time maybe to sit on the bridge and look at things in a little different way.
Right.
Don't know what's on your mind. You've been busy running around the United States,
getting everything organized, but it's good though. It's been fun. We did have that one topic. Yeah. But I don't want to just completely switch gears. We're talking about analyzing the bridge as far as like parenting or
Low Beach.
No, we just had a little conversation about all kinds of things. So you can certainly jump on your bridge. Yeah. Let's hear about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's on your mind?
I sent Kent, and then we added into the group chat. There is a gentleman.
I don't know. Gentleman's right.
Can't call that. He's a senior Pentagon official. Yeah. He's overseeing elementary education for the school board for the entire country. Yeah. And he was caught in a child trafficking ring.
Yes.
And I wonder why it wasn't spoke about as much as an Angel Reese situation or any other topic that has just gone viral. The trial between Johnny Depp and Heard. Why would we not speak on the person in charge of decision making for elementary education? Where they're starting to introduce sexual conversations to elementary schoolers. That guy. Why that age? Why would we not at all speak on why he was caught in a sex trafficking ring of children? The person in charge of decision making and the flow of things in our elementary education.
Buried for several months, right? I mean, when we looked at it,
November.
November.
Mm-hmm. Just coming to light.
But even the coming to light was a guy on TikTok like, "Hey, I'm concerned that none of you major outlets have spoken on this the way that we speak on nonsense or just chaos."
So the issue then is that it took so long, or the issue is that this guy is involved in that, or the issue is
that there's one more. That it took so long that he's involved in that we're not speaking on it. We've had this conversation where like let's say something bad happens in the Shadowlands of Illinois. And right.
Mhm.
And it'll happen. And people in the suburbs will say, well, 2 kids got shot, Phil. It's the children. We got to protect the safety of the children. And I'll say that's very fair. A innocent child should not be hit in gang violence. I'm not taking away from that at all, not making light of. However, 100 kids were trafficked in the suburbs this weekend. If we're really gung-ho for children's safety, why are we only talking about the 2 shootings in Chicago and not the hundreds? Why are we not acknowledging that there's a hub? Schaumburg-Hoffman area is known as a hub for that. Why do we act like Chicago is the only bad place if it's known that there's a hub of trafficking right 15 minutes up the road?
Well, I think it is a very good question to say is why are we covering that up? We have a responsibility to protect our children.
Right.
And so that is, I don't think no matter where you are in the world, unless you're doing it, there's no way you can justify or condone or accept something horrific. I think it's terribly detrimental and sickeningly sad that we've become so desensitized that we're not rising up. But I also think, like for me, I look at it and I was telling Kent earlier, I don't feel like I really know. Yeah, it's horrifying. It's awful. I just don't feel like I know enough about it and what you do to make an actual difference. Now, Tim Tebow is doing quite a bit, actually.
Mhm.
And he's trying to pass some laws I saw to try to break some of this stuff up.
Right.
And he's got a heart and a passion for it. And that's a man that's really building a bridge to make a difference. The other thing I do want to say is I'm thankful that they arrested him because, right, it could still be going on and they could have covered it up and not even arrested the guy. Think about that. There's stuff going on in our government that they know that they're not arresting. So praise God he's arrested and it is getting exposed because eventually things will come into the light because God is going to see to it that it does. So it may have taken a couple months to leak out and get exposed, but now it is.
Do you think he's going to get the Minnesota treatment? Catching up. There was this officer who was arrested for killing a person. And I told Kent, watch for it. 4 months down the line, they're going to release him through the side gate. He's not going to do the full sentencing. Lo and behold, there was footage of that officer not serving the 2 years for murder. 4 or 5 months later, released to the side gate. So when we see stuff like this, Kent's like, yes, they arrested him. I'm like, for 30 days, for 90 days, he's not going to do 7, 15, 25 like the weed
Well, if you're
salesman.
caught in a sex trafficking ring and you're really guilty of that and you're charged with guilty, that's probably.
We don't even cover
that's
the case.
A lifer.
We don't even cover the case. We covered Johnny Depp and
yeah.
her. We didn't cover.
So why do you think, I think that's the question we need to ask because we were just talking about this. You got to look beyond the behavior into the heart. So why do you think we are not covering why do you think we're not covering these issues?
So, and this is where I will take it off this level and put it back down here a little bit. Because we were having the conversation of saying Chicago, suburb. When we started the show, there was one time we talked about there was 400,000 cases of trafficking, like 400,000 kids abducted. So when you take that number, compare it to, and I'm not downplaying it because each of them is important.
Yeah.
100, 200 kids that were shot in gang violence. It's not even, it would take 100 Chicagos to keep up with what we're doing in the suburbs. These villainous people. We don't speak on that. And that's where it's like, okay, so then this choice was made for if a kid is transitioning, I don't have to be told. And I'm like, well, why would they do that? Well, this guy is into kids being sexual. Why aren't we covering that? Well, this decision is being made where they don't have to communicate this with parents. Why would they make that decision? This guy wants there to be absolute silence. Hey, this incident happened where a bunch of immigrants were put into these cages and disappeared from some. You mean in the same age group that this guy targets? And we're not we're just be like, oh, bad Mexicans, oh, gang violence. And it's like, hey, if we look at this as teammates, they just took your child, they killed this child, but they are taking y'all's children at a very high frequency, and we need to pay attention to this. And we're not speaking on it. You don't hear, if you think about, close your eyes, think of crime. The one that you hear the least is what? on public forum. The one with the highest number? How?
Well, so what's happening that's happening? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on?
Because what you're seeing, like, you are taught, clutch your purse if I walk by, but not hold your child's hand tighter if he's lurking in the aisle next to you.
Well, I can tell you, I know there's a lot of young people getting off social media and don't put pictures of their kids on there because of all that's going on.
But every last one of them will see me walk through the Jewel Park line. Huh. Because that's the image that you're shown. You're not shown, hey, this guy with the no facial hair and the mustache is the one that just took with the van with no window. Like, it's not talked about.
So what do you think? Do you think that they're hiding it because somebody's gaining from it and that's why they're trying to hide it? Like someone's making a lot of money and a lot of power in our country is making a lot of money off these children? Or do you think that they don't know enough about it to cover it? Because that's how I felt. I mean, I coming in, I'm like, we can talk about this, but I don't really know. I know it's horrifying. I know it shouldn't be happening. It makes me sick. I can't believe we've been desensitized to this. I can't believe that actually a human being could really do that and sleep at night. But yet I don't know what to talk about it other than that. So
there's a word that's used frequently that we've seen on the show when it comes to white collar crimes. It's called allegedly. Allegedly, there's a lot of people who are in high profile positions who can pull strings one way or the other, that if you report this, I have information on you. Again, the trial, if you watch Filthy Rich, the Epstein story, when he had 60 girls with their confessions and then was let through the side door for no trial. They had the trial before he went to trial. So you're coming here at 9:15 for trial. At 9:05 is case closed. Epstein's dismissed. And you and 61 other girls are standing outside ready to testify. And somehow someone in the judicial system and the police force had already decided case dismissed. I've never seen a drug deal case gone like that, or gang violence murder where Deshaun is let free, even with 62 witnesses with confessions, little girls with tears in their eyes. I've never seen that. It seems to happen an awful lot when it's other people, though.
So taking all of because I'm gonna take the race out of it. I know you're not gonna want to, but take the race out of it. Take it out of it. This is a horrifying I don't care what color, what age. If you're hurting children, you suck and something needs to happen. Period.
So look,
why is this allowing to fester? So are you saying our top government
legend
is?
Because here's what I'm saying.
Because it's obviously an issue. This is why I don't even know what to say about it, because it's so horrifying to even think that people could do such a thing.
Because what I said was, when they took the Hispanic kid, I was like, that's bad. Stealing Hispanic kids is bad. Shooting Black kids is bad. Gang violence or whatever. At the same time, if you're in a system now where they're not going to track you, you're right into that flow, because they can make you disappear. There's thousands of cases where inmates have disappeared. Murder, whatever, gone. Over here, there's no teamwork. Over here, there's no teamwork. Over here, it's pretending like it doesn't happen. We can say, y'all need to pay attention. Y'all need to pay attention. We need to do something. What we're hearing is, this is bad, this is bad. I don't want it to be a race thing.
Right, because it doesn't matter who's getting shot, who's getting taken, it's all bad.
If someone touches Lucy, I'm swinging before I find out the whole situation. That's my niece.
Right.
That's just what that is. I'm not like, oh, she's a white girl. Nah, nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about.
Well,
we are drug lord, bad. Gang member, bad. People stealing thousands of children, we don't speak on. Let's not even make it a race thing, but can we address that 400,000 kids went missing from someone?
Yeah.
Whatever they look like.
Right. Doesn't matter.
Nah. And that's why you'll clutch your purse, or you think that he's got cocaine on him but we'll just sit here and act like the van with no windows at the end of our street currently is safe.
So how do we build a bridge? How do we make awareness first?
So, in the United States today, true or false?
Ooh,
There are more slaves in America today than there were when this country was being.
true.
True.
Right? You both answered that very quickly. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Slavery bad back in the early days of the settlement of this country.
Right.
Today, obviously not bad. Why? Because there's actually more slaves in the United States today than there were when we in slavery. Right? And it's not any particular race like it was back when we started this country. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's children. It's children of all race, right? And unfortunately, the reason that it's hid is because of power and money, and the same reason we really didn't see any names that were in a black book. Right? There's sultans. There's octopuses out further.
The hydra of this whole situation is crazy.
Than the United States, and it's bad, right?
They had that royalty guy in there.
Yeah.
From that island.
That's what I'm saying.
And they were like, Prince such and such. Isn't this you with this girl? Never seen her. It's you in the picture. No. She knows that you sweat profusely. No clue what you're talking about. How
Right.
we not say nothing?
Right.
And that's why this gentleman that was the head of this probably was elected or appointed the head of this,
Right.
Because he knew the operation, he knew the play, and until we as Americans, until we as a world start saying this has got to stop,
Yeah.
right, it'll continue to go on. Lucy is in 9th grade and just learning about sex trafficking in 9th grade. She comes home and we're like, yeah, guess why we say this? Guess why you can't do that? I had one. Like, yeah. Right. I mean, I think about when, and it was happening back when I was a kid too, but when we rode our bikes all the way across town, didn't worry about it. Johnny Gosh was the only kid who ever got,
Right.
Who got kidnapped. That's all we knew. Right. But now it's the way that it's handled is, well, we'll take a look into it. Yeah, maybe they were 16, they can act as adults. Right. So there's a lot of that goes on, that, hey, if you poke around, you might not ought to be poking around that file.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's why people don't pursue it.
Yeah.
Because the names that you're going to see on that list allegedly will make you disappear, but get you arrested at minimum. And now you're in a cell where someone else who's in on it is controlling when your jail door opens or if the stays closes.
And understand that there's a lot of different trafficking that goes on. It's not just sex trafficking, right? So we're not just grabbing these little kids to be gross, right? We're grabbing these young kids because we're going to scare you, and we're going to make you think that we're going to kill your family, and you're going to produce for us, you're going to make bracelets or whatever. I don't know, right? I'm not in the business.
Right.
But it takes shows like this to start talking about it, right? This is how you build a bridge. This is how you bring it up and say this is an issue, right? It's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa, I think, has the most missing children in per capita, right? Each year.
Now you wouldn't think Iowa. I don't think the average person would think Iowa.
You're in the sticks.
Yeah.
You're in the sticks trying to buy a bunch of cameras or whatever. You're in the farmland. Like, who's going to know?
Yeah. Right. I mean, when I was a kid, I'd ride my bike across town, 5 miles across town to go hang out with some buddies or whatever, right? So you're gone all day. Here in McHenry, Well, he's like, hey, can I run over to Mackenzie's, which is 2.5 miles? And I'm like, all right.
Right. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Right. You know where you're going to be. You know, what are you doing?
Who's there? What family members? What family members are going to be there of their house? Because if their uncle's there, you're not going.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that I asked that my parents probably never asked because, like, whatever. Right? And some of the white vans are work vans. They're legitimate vans working, right? We're not trying to...
They're not all bad vans, Phil. I got you.
And really, the operation now isn't even meant who are
Oh, of course.
the gathering, the fishing,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot of tag teams. Could be a husband and wife. It could be a wife. It could be a girlfriend. I think, you know, there's a lot of women now.
Yeah.
Who are involved in this fishing expedition, and the issue is that we don't, families don't speak about it enough. Families, you know, and if you were to ask me personally, that's where we as a nation have gone way wrong, right? Is we're allowing our kids to be raised by TVs and hashtag pocket computers,
Right.
and teachers who just want to get through the day, right? Alice and I still, and it irritates Lucy, but all our kids were still very, very, very active in educating our kids, right? We are involved in their homework. We encourage studying. We're not just allowing the schools to teach our children.
Right.
Here's a question to push back to your teacher, right? So, and a lot of times now, because of optics, because of keeping up with the Joneses, quote unquote, moms and dad both have to work, and they work long hours. And now, you as a child, I am exhausted, so let's get you into soccer, so I don't have to deal with you.
All right.
Right.
Get them on the break.
So what I think I think the family unit needs to, you know, come back together. You know, again, Sundays were a day for family.
Mhm.
You go to church, you go to grandma's for chicken, sloppy joes, whatever. Your cousins were there, everything, right? I mean, you look forward to it. Like,
Right.
oh, sweet, I'm gonna see Willie. Here we go. Right? Good to see him this weekend. And now Sundays are soccer. Sundays are filled with activities that distract from family.
Yeah, I would love to see a lot of things. I think it'd be great if businesses and all things shut down on Sundays. People would adapt and adjust.
Absolutely.
They would adapt and adjust.
Now, I will say this as a coach. Hey, I'm in those activities on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
I support those activities, right? As a dad, hey, you know that's what we do. But again, how do you know? Are you making it meaningful, right? So when you're in the car, do they have their earbuds on and you're ignoring everybody, or are you talking and having family time?
Right.
Right. So it all matters on you know your perspective on things. But I think as America as a whole we're too spread out, and we've pulled away from family, right? And we can go into you know, all the politics and everything too that are like, you're going to be a single mom.
So, and I agree with you on the family aspect. I think keeping it like just racial, like I watch the country be able to lock in and form teams for certain topics, whether it's whatever letter you are, whether it's for the right, anti-right, whatever case may be. Like people were able to say, we're allies on this topic, not on this one though. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like this would be where if it's Sunday and you guys want to team up and we're going to attack this thing, my family and your family can go at this because my son goes to school with your daughter or vice, whatever the case may be. And I'm just baffled that I'm not seeing this. At the same time, thinking about it, like, you ever had like a bunch of cords and you try to like figure out how to untie all the cords together? That not for this country on this topic is disgusting.
Yeah.
As I'm listening, and I don't want to speak out too much on something I don't know enough about, but I'm sitting back and I'm kind of a little bit mystified that if you look in our history books, the silent majority or the average person or people rallied up for much milder issues and overturned. So I look at it like even double taxation, right? But we're not doing it. Why aren't we doing it? I feel like I don't think it's intentional. I think people are feeling not empowered.
Syndrome.
They're not feeling empowered. They don't even know, because I've wondered that with a lot of issues in the country the last couple of years is where are the people to overturn what's happening that we all agree is wrong?
We have created an atmosphere where the minority gets headlines. The minority gets the play, right? So to Phil's, 400,000 kids. So I want you to understand.
Crystal Lake is what, 60,
right?
50,
50,000.
So
take
4
10,
Crystal Lakes.
Yeah, right. Take 400,000, right? That's a lot of human beings. Now,
10 Crystal
stop
Lakes.
saying kids.
Humans.
Those are human beings, right? And ones that are probably from the age of 5 to 25, I would guess. Right?
Yeah.
I even worry about my 27-year-old daughter.
Right.
But she's married, but I still worry about, my 21-year-old. Very, very guarded, right? And I was pleasantly surprised when my 14-year-old came home, who's a freshman at public school, says, "Hey, we learned." Yeah, guess why? And now we have a conversation about it, right?
Is that McHenry County?
Yeah.
So McHenry County disappeared.
Yeah.
All of its inhabitants, 400,000 people.
Yeah.
From Huntley to Woodstock to McHenry to disappeared, and we're not going to speak on it.
Yeah, that's a mind blow. So why are we so I think everybody here and I think everybody listening can agree it's wrong. So why are we feeling
again, until
unequipped? I don't even know the word.
Until it happens in your backyard. And let's go back to a few years ago with our good little friend AJ.
All right.
Right. Nothing bad happens in our neighborhood. And that's someplace else. As soon as it pokes its head in your backyard.
National news.
But it is poking our head in its backyard.
It's starting to, yes. But that's where, because of the playbook that's coming down from on high, right? And again, look at the gentleman who he's the head of for the nation was involved. So that means,
who are you going to escalate it to?
right?
Who, like, that's when you escalate, someone's going to have to tell you, hey, let that go.
Okay, so we can go back to, hey, the judge dresses in a sheet on the weekends, right? So there's a lot of Klans people allegedly from movies that I've seen. I haven't witnessed this in person.
Mm-hmm.
So allegedly, that believe a certain belief. So where do you run to? Hey, we are being discriminated against. Well, y'all,
right
now, right? Why don't you just all run back?
Right.
There is
that was a fun
400,000 people disappearing. Their family members. It's touching 400,000 families, right? And if it was yours.
So my wife's aunt, her son, at 21, went missing. Now, he had, he was a hard. I mean, he was an addict. He was a hard kid, right? Never to be found, never to be heard of. And he wasn't one that, they were a very close family.
Right.
And now that was 30 years ago. Still see the pain and the hurt from this mother, who I love dearly, because there's no answer.
I don't know if it was.
There's no conclusion.
No closure.
No closure. Now, here's the other on the flip side of this. Now, remember a year ago, maybe two now, a young lady in Iowa killed her kidnapper, killed her trafficker, and they sued her, and she did time for murder. We forget about that. No,
I didn't.
Right? No, I don't either. So,
but a lot of people did.
So again,
Oh my goodness.
Here's a young lady, and I'll keep race out. Here's a young lady.
Yeah.
Oh, can we wait for this one, please? Please.
Who was kidnapped for sexual trade, right? To be a
with the intention.
Slave, with the intention of sex slavery. And she ends up fighting for her life, ends up killing the slave owner,
The trafficker.
and the trafficker's family goes. This is in the state of Iowa. It goes after her, and they find her guilty.
So she's guilty, but Zimmerman.
I'm speechless.
She's guilty even in self-defense, but Zimmerman is free, even though he pursued a child and murdered him.
Now,
And now he signs Skittles bags.
So what's the answer? I mean, obviously,
and I believe at the end of that story, she ended up missing from prison.
Nobody knows.
The family of her is like, where did she go?
How?
So I think when it comes to that, and we're not trying to scare people, we're saying, how do you build this bridge? And I think the first thing is you have to say, hey, there's a gap here that we can't get over, right? There's something here.
You have to stop pretending like it's not there.
Right.
Y'all, so like in Pensacola, like our jewel was in Dixie, but like they had the bulletin board that would have like missing kids, just a bunch of them.
Remember that? Yeah.
And it's like, if that's in a whole bunch of grocery stores, no one's putting two and two, like all these
Now
kids.
they don't even have it.
they don't have them anymore. You're right.
You think it stopped?
Sweep that under the rug.
Right.
You think?
Yeah. See, it is eye opening to see, to have the conversation.
The entire time I grew up,
Used to be on Not anymore.
Why is that?
Too many.
Too many.
But-
Well, just pick what you get, do what you can do.
People are drinking.
But I feel we're allowing a lot, like the girl missing from the situation. Well, she's in the prison, so who's going to keep up with her? They're in ICE, who's going to keep up with this person?
Mhm.
So a lot of it is from places like, well, kind of out of sight, out of mind, but like people are going missing from these establishments and they're not being checked. And I feel sometimes it's because it's either blink trash, thug, drug lord. And we're not really looking at these bad youth.
But we would rather focus on an old man tripping or stumbling over his words than
We're banning TikTok. That's what we're busy voting on right now, is if we're going to ban TikTok. We're not even going to address this at all. Our current government today is voting to ban TikTok, just so they can take ownership, by the way.
Right.
But we won't bring this topic up.
So how do we, as the bridge, encourage people to not live in fear? Because I don't think it would be beneficial to anybody to, we don't want to scare people. The government's already trying to do that, right? The media is already trying to do that. Everybody's trying to get us to be afraid. We don't want to do that, because that doesn't build any bridges when people are paralyzed by fear.
Right.
So we don't want people to be afraid. We want people to be aware.
Yeah.
And then how do we institute change or call out those people that this is kind of gripping your heart? How can you collaborate and at least check the ground to find out where a bridge can be built?
So
Like there's got to be some sort of call to action of that we're not going to, that's what every thug out there, everybody wants you to live in fear.
So
And they're living in fear because they're living lives that are so horrific. You can't tell me. One time I was robbed at the bank. I was a teller at a bank, and the robber came up to me and, throwing the note in my face and wanting money and all that. And I got to tell you, what struck me the most is that man was way more afraid than I was.
Yeah.
He was scared to death. He's got to live his life on the run the rest of his life.
Right.
And so these people that are doing this thing, because of the way we're made, they're very hardened, obviously, but they're living wondering every day who's going to find them out. And that is, they are living in fear. We shouldn't be living in fear.
you think so?
How do we,
Here's what
yes, I guess if I was to get kidnapped, of course
No,
I'd be
I
afraid.
think so.
But here's
But I think that we have to leverage it a little bit. We're giving them so much power.
Yeah.
Am I talking naively, Phil?
no.
Because I could be.
No, you're not.
I don't know anything about
see
this
what-
topic. But do you see what I'm saying?
But okay,
Like, obviously, I gave the guy the money, and I'm not going to compare that to this. There's no comparison. But I just want to say, there's an element of fear that lives within these people that live this evil life.
I'm gonna help you out.
Help me out.
On different crimes, if I golf with the judge, how nervous am I? That's level 1. If I have pictures of the judge with a child, I dare him. Send me to jail so these pictures can come up.
Mhm.
As I said, not guilty. Fair to who? Because I got the police chief, I got the judge, I got the jury, I got the council member. They're my customers. Afraid of who? Dare them. I have my limo out front to pick me up.
I think
This is why God sent me to Uganda. It's a whole lot easier.
you know what? But I still think there's because you're human, there's still that, oh man, I ain't afraid, but guess what?
If I ever get exposed, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always in the back of your mind, there's
Always.
people kind of wired in and they know good from evil, right? And sometimes though you start spelunking down a hole and you're in too deep by that time, you're like, well, I guess we're gonna go all the way in.
I think some of these, the people around these rings are collaborating.
Yeah.
The people that find it disgusting, like you and I, are not collaborating.
Well, again, you follow the money, and like I said, this octopus is way out into the world, all over this
countries, right?
right?
But like where you talked about Black Book, the Black Book is a reference to the case that wasn't spoken of while the Johnny Depp case was going on,
Right.
Mhm.
with, would you say, thousands of names? Thousands of names.
And dates.
And like times that this judge flew to this island where there was 14 girls under 14. And it's documented in this book. And he went 7 times in the past 3 years. That book was never surfaced. When the book was found, what was it? 1,500 CEOs quit within a 2-week span of big name. You think just for the kind so hard they got tired of money?
Mm.
They knew. But no one said, 1,500 CEOs just quit or VPs just quit. And since they just quit with no real trial, they can get hired anywhere else. I wasn't really connected to this.
Or take their nice little pension that they got and put it away.
Or be a police officer in another town next door. Anyway, whatever.
But there's a lot wrong, and I know we've got hard stuff at Chen because you got your grandbabies.
I do got my grandbabies today.
So when the white van rolls by, just grab their hands.
Let me know.
That's it.
I can't.
I think and a way to start bringing awareness is not sweeping it under the rug, not ignoring it, right? I also think it's not just throwing blips out on social medias. That now I'm sitting here through this whole thing, waiting to see what some of our social media outlets will say. to me in an email.
We're not getting in trouble for this.
This show is definitely not about any violence or spreading anything like that. It's about building those bridges, and yet we've had some of our shows silenced for inciting violence.
I should have did this.
You know,
Because I'm like, you got us way wrong, right? So hopefully we didn't hit enough words. Oh, look, Haley says, and thanks, Haley, for jumping off. She says this country is conditioned to complacency because money buys silence and secrets. As individuals, we feel powerless. Banded together, we become anti-government. More of the problem.
Right.
Unfortunately, yes, hear evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Unfortunately, it's who you know, not what.
Right. Yeah, good point. Good point. And I think it's because I think a lot of times we avoid it. It's being willing to be in the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like this was uncomfortable for me to sit in on this topic because it's horrifying to even think someone is capable of doing such a thing. Like it's uncomfortable because you don't know what to do about it and you can't believe it's happening. And there isn't a way to find out, really get to the truth of it. And how do we ban? And so maybe it is just being willing to say, I don't know what to do. I'm uncomfortable, but let's just talk about it.
I feel also a lot of people haven't, because if you look at the trail of people who were going to make documentaries about it that ended up missing, ended up committing suicide, shooting themselves twice in the back of the head.
But now The Sound of Freedom got out.
One. And they were talking, and when you looked at it, it was so,
which is a great movie on it, by the way.
It was so picked apart based off it was true or this or the white savior complex, or like, you're not getting it. You're missing that they're just even trying to make you aware that this is taking place, and they're showing you actual footage of an actual person who did an actual thing. I don't care if he's a great white savior. He's highlighting this topic. Why are we divisive on this?
Right. We shouldn't be. And actually, if you look on the statistics after the movie was over, I thought that was just as gut-wrenching as the movie.
Do you understand that we watch reality TV just fine, and now we're going to pick this apart?
Right. And the United States is leading it according to the statistics on that movie, which just was like a sucker punch to me. I guess I've been in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, that's just unacceptable. Opened your eyes to the whole.
Right.
A lot of things going on in this world. I'm not sure what we can say and what we can't. So I hope I didn't get you in trouble, Kent.
We also
in a country of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But we also lead in incarceration, where we send people that we don't think twice about to this. We don't think twice about it.
Well, I don't know. I guess maybe is that why our border's so crazy?
That's why we're so crazy. Listen, we got to run. This, of course, if you've got anything to think about or insights that you want to share, reach out to info@216thenet.com, info@216thenet.com, and we'll gladly have that conversation with you. Or leave a comment in there. Thanks, Haley, for doing that as well. Listen, for all of us here at 216, thanks for joining us on the bridge. Until next time, be good, but more importantly, be good to one another.
Love you guys.
Amen.